A taxi strike in Gauteng is looming. The Transport Minister says the 1.5 billion rand allocated to the taxi industry is all the government can afford right now. Fikile Mbalula held a briefing in Midrand, north of Johannesburg today in response to SANTACO's plans to strike in Gauteng. Mbalula has called the strike counterproductive and baseless and also says it will further devastate the industry.
The brakes are on for Gauteng minibus taxis tomorrow. Thousands of taxi commuters will be left stranded. SANTACO in Gauteng is dissatisfied with the relief offer and has opted to strike. Mbalula says their demands are not feasible.
There's been argument about whether it is enough, and others saying they want 20,000. Now, it is not possible to have 20,000 because if you say 20,000 per taxi, when we do our calculation, it adds up to 10 billion rand. Government will not have any 10 billion rand in its kitty to basically provide to the taxi industry.
As a result of the regulations under the different lockdown levels, taxi owners say they have lost millions in revenue. Hours before the proposed strike, the minister held another briefing to appeal to SANTACO to cancel the strike.
We appeal to the industry that at this lateness of hour, let us not go that route. This is not the time to fight. It's time to build and work together. I know anyone can argue that the money is too little. If we were to calculate the compensation, if we were to calculate the loss, we will agree that the money is little.
On the matter that was raised, we believe law enforcement should be able to enforce the laws of this country and make sure that there are no acts of violence. We are concerned that SANTACO is going on a shutdown, and NTA, or the Gauteng National Taxi Alliance, has said they will be operating tomorrow. We hope this does not set back that unity in the taxi industry that we have been working so hard on and to build. Because what could happen on the ground, we do not know what could happen, but the culture and the history in the taxi industry is that under these conditions, there's normally difficulties.
The minister says increasing the allocated 1 billion is not an option.
The decision to avail 1.135 billion rand to the taxi industry as relief support was not an easy one. We literally had to scrape the bottom of the barrel. It is for this reason that none of the relief packages equate or could be equated to compensation for losses, but rather limited support to cushion the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The reality is that there is no more money available beyond what the government has offered. We can't lie. We can't claim easy victories. We can't promise what government can't afford. We are in a big discussion with the taxi industry to look at formalization of the industry, but at the same time to attend to the question of a subsidization.
In response to another grievance, vehicle capacity, the minister says they are in talks with health practitioners.
I've got to look at 100%. The MECs I've just met now in a meeting, they say, Minister, 100% is a risk. Look into that from a health standards and all of that. I say, no, it is not a risk. We will agree on 100% informed by health practitioners.
Even after the briefing, SANTACO maintains that their position still stands. The disagreement will leave thousands of commuters stranded on Monday.
I've heard the address of the minister. In his address, there was nothing new. There was nothing new, absolutely. And there's not even one of the areas of our concern that he has addressed. Then, therefore, we as a industry here in Gauteng, we continue with the shutdown tomorrow.
Next Wednesday, the ministry will provide feedback on other grievances by the taxi industry. Commuters are urged to make alternative arrangements for tomorrow. Nosipho Mncube, SABC News, Johannesburg.
To talk more about this, we're joined by Midday Mali. He's spokesperson for SANTACO in Gauteng. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us. First of all, what is your response to the minister's appeal, saying that this is not a time for fighting, that you should all come down to the table and sort your matters out?
Good evening, and good evening to your viewers at home. Well, I agree it's not a time of fighting. We are not fighting as a taxi industry here in Gauteng. We are just concerned and frustrated by the announcement that I made. We fully agree to say the 1.135 billion is very little. Secondly, if you look into a point whereby on 1.1 billion, there are vehicles that are doing the long distances. Their last operation was on the 26th of March. Up until today, they've never moved those vehicles to transport the people. And secondly, the banks are looking for the payment from the members on the ground of the taxi industry here in Gauteng. Therefore, we feel that if we'll be relieved about 3,000 rand, I think justice is not served to relieve us from this debt. And you can see that in the few months that are coming, there will be a big repossession here in the province. Our members on the ground, they are going to lose their vehicles. And if you can look, the Gauteng province is one province that has a big number of the vehicles that are still owing the banks. So therefore, it simply tells you in coming few months, up to 6 months, our operators on the ground will be not having vehicles. Now, when comes the time of...
But does going on a shutdown not further exacerbate the situation? Does it not bring the industry further to its knees?
Come again, ma'am, come again.
I'm saying, does going on a shutdown not exacerbate the situation, bring the industry further to its knees?
No, we are not bringing the industry to its knees, not at all, but we are making the government to understand that we are not satisfied. If the government is concerned about the citizens of this country, we are part of it as a taxi industry. We want the government to assist us accordingly. You should remember, since this lockdown has started, we were the only industry that was on the street giving the service to the commuters.
So how will it work? How is it going to help the industry to not be out on the roads, to not earn a living? The minister was saying earlier on that taxi bosses are not happy, that they've already lost a lot, so they are not happy with this shutdown. Are you hearing something differently?
Well, I would say about the shutdown, they are saying as government to us, how are we going to be happy or not? Look, already we are in a problem. The repossession is going very high. Some of the banks are after our members to repossess the vehicle. That's number one. Number two, definitely since this lockdown is going on up until today, even the local operations are not making any profit any longer. So we want assistance from government. Like other companies, other modes of transport, for an example, other modes of transport, the buses and whoever, they were given a standing fee without it being operating on the ground. Why we were not considered as a only black-owned business in this country.
So government says it doesn't have the money. What should happen next?
Well, next, we are saying again, the way of getting to the relief fund, there is again another issue of formalization, of which that process can take us more than 2 to 10 years to be completed. You can look into Gauteng, the way we are operating, the way the things are happening here in Gauteng. They really bring a lot of frustration into the taxi industry.
So how long do you anticipate that this shutdown will last for? And can you assure the public that no member of the public will be attacked, intimidated or harassed by taxi drivers?
Well, we have spoken to our members just to request them. We want a peaceful shutdown. We want our operators who are in the taxi industry here in Gauteng just to take their vehicles away from the operation tomorrow. We will not be seen on the street. We want our vehicles just to be away from the operation itself. And secondly, we said we don't want any confrontations on the people who are on the road. Those who decide to operate is their right. We don't want to interfere with their operations.
How long do you anticipate the shutdown will be on for?
The shutdown is anticipated to be a 1 day, that is the 22nd only on Monday, meaning tomorrow.
So further than that, if government still does not readjust its position, what do you do? What will you do?
Well, we will go to a drawing board as a taxi industry here in Gauteng and sit down and think what approach do we have to take. Because obviously, I want to confirm that obviously about 40% of our vehicles here in the province, they are going to be repossessed. So therefore, we don't see any reason for us to sit down and fold arms at that kind of a situation.
So why then have a 1 day shutdown? Shouldn't you be out there working, trying to make money so that you arrest the situation, that cars are not repossessed? So I'm just trying to understand, and I say this with the greatest respect, what is the purpose of the shutdown then?
The purpose of the shutdown is that we have to have our own meeting tomorrow, alone as an industry, number one, to plan the way forward. If we don't get any joy, how do we approach this matter? Secondly, the government must understand the frustrations that we are in as a taxi industry.
Okay, thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Midday Mali, SANTACO spokesperson.